Why do societies increasingly rely on rules, money, and enforcement, instead of cooperation? In this explainer, we look at what social fabric actually is, why it matters at a systems level, and what happens when it weakens. By the end, you'll understand how trust and cohesion quietly reduce the need for welfare, enforcement, and control, and why, when they erode, societies become more expensive and fragile to govern. Social fabric refers to the network of trust, shared norms, and expectations that allow people to cooperate without constant supervision or enforcement. It includes trust between citizens, informal rules of behavior, and the willingness to comply even when no one is watching. At a systems level, social fabric is not cultural decoration. It is functional infrastructure. When social fabric is strong, societies coordinate cheaply. When it weakens, coordination must increasingly be organized through formal systems. Social fabric enables horizontal coordination, cooperation between citizens. This form of coordination is largely voluntary. It depends on trust, shared norms, and expectations of reciprocity. Historically, participation mattered. Belonging to a community increased the likelihood of support during illness, unemployment, or hardship. Cohesion was not primarily moral. It was instrumental. If you invested in the group invested in you. As societies modernized, many of these functions shifted from citizen-to-citizen coordination to citizen-to-state coordination. Healthcare, poverty relief, pensions, and risk protection moved into formal systems. This brought advantages: broader coverage, greater predictability, less dependence on family or local circumstance. But it also changed how coordination works. Support became guaranteed by law rather than sustained by participation. Risk was pooled nationally instead of locally. Reciprocity was replaced by entitlement. As social functions move into formal systems, the work does not disappear. It becomes paid, regulated, and centralized. Care, support, administration, and compliance shift into professional systems. These systems must be financed, staffed, and managed. Horizontal social coordination depends on voluntary time and participation. It requires people to be present in communities, associations, families, and informal networks, where trust and shared norms are formed through repeated interaction. As more social functions shift into formal systems, those functions must be financed. Financing them requires higher taxation and broader participation in formal labor markets. That increases the amount of time households must spend generating income and meeting formal obligations. As a result, less time and energy remain available for informal cooperation, community involvement, and civic participation. When participation declines, social cohesion weakens, not because people choose isolation, but because the system leaves less room for the interactions that sustain trust. The system becomes more reliable and standardized, but less cohesive and less resilient at the social level. In stable periods, this trade-off is often invisible. Formal systems function. Welfare absorbs shocks. Institutions carry the load. But under stress, especially internal conflict, the difference becomes clear. Horizontal systems provide redundancy. They buffer shocks. They slow escalation. When social fabric is weak, stress moves directly to the state. Conflicts escalate faster. Polarization hardens. Reliance on enforcement increases. Signals that social fabric is weakening include declining interpersonal trust, fewer civic associations, shared norms replaced by formal rules, rising enforcement costs, and growing reliance on welfare or policing. These are not moral failures. They are structural signals. Social fabric cannot be legislated. It emerges when cooperation is necessary. As societies shift coordination from citizens to institutions, they gain reliability, but they lose redundancy and resilience. When trust weakens, systems increasingly rely on substitutes: money, identity, control. Each works. Each is more expensive. Before we continue, if you think this is valuable, please like. It helps share it with others. Subscribe so we stay informed together. If trust and cooperation continue to weaken, Which substitute is your society relying on most, and at what cost? This episode connects directly to welfare, legitimacy, social control, nationalism, and state capacity across this series. Find the full TNBC Explainers course and overview in the description. This is TNBC Explainers, understanding how the world actually works. Social fabric is part of TNBC Explainers Module 2, Power, Governance, and the State. TNBC Explainers is a growing YouTube course. New concepts are added over time,